Welcome to the HerHealth podcast, transforming health for women and girls at risk, where we empower women and girls to take charge of their health and well-being. Join us as we shine a spotlight on issues affecting women and girls' health and explore ways to create positive change. Get ready to be inspired and empowered as we discuss health, advocacy, and empowerment for women and girls at risk. Please be advised that this podcast may cover sensitive topics such as gendered violence. We understand that these discussions can be difficult to listen to. If you feel uncomfortable or need support, we encourage you to prioritize your well-being. Consider exploring our other podcasts if these topics are triggering for you. Resources can be found in the description.
Hi, and welcome back to the HerHealth podcast. This is a space where we shine a light on the real issues that shape the health of women, girls, and gender diverse people at risk or affected by violence. I'm your host, Alexandria Lazochuk, a first-year Master of Science student in Community Health Sciences at the University of Calgary, specializing in population and public health. And my work focuses on how we can build stronger academic community partnerships to support women, children, and families affected by violence and adversity. Today, we're diving into 3 challenges that are deeply connected: adverse childhood experiences, gender-based violence, and intimate partner violence. Now, these can sound like academic terms, but what they really describe are people's lives and health impacts of trauma that often goes unseen. I will also introduce one of the many alliances tackling these challenges. AVA is a national health research training platform funded by the Canadian Institutes of Health Research that focuses on building the skills and knowledge needed to transform health and social services for women, girls, and gender diverse people who are affected by violence. We will talk more about AVA in this episode. We'll also hear from Dr. Nicole Letourneau, professor at the University of Calgary, research chair in parent and child mental health, director of Resolve Alberta, and scientific director of AVA. She'll share her journey into this work and how AVA is advancing solutions. Let's dive in. Let's start with ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. These are potentially traumatic events that happen before the age of 18. Things like abuse, neglect, exposure to parental mental illness, substance use, divorce, or intimate partner violence at home. In Canada, ACEs are common, and about a third of people report having at least 1 or 2 ACEs. Nearly 1 in 4 report 3 or more. And the impact goes far beyond childhood. When kids live in constant fear or stress, their bodies stay in the survival mode, pumping out high levels of cortisol or the stress hormone. And over time, this can become toxic, damaging neurons, disrupting brain development, and affecting learning, memory, and even physical health. But here's the hopeful part. ACEs don't write your future, and supportive relationships can buffer those effects. A grandparent, a teacher, a mentor, just having one stable and caring relationship can reset stress responses and help children build resilience. And that's why relationships are so powerful in healing. And for infants and preschoolers exposed to intimate partner violence, the risks are serious. Things like disorganized attachment, emotional regulation problems, trauma symptoms, even lower IQ and memory function. But again, the presence of safety and care can change that trajectory. This area of focus emphasizes setting children on a path towards health and resilience by supporting them early. And when supportive relationships are present, they help children not just survive, but thrive. And supporting children early allows there to be more vibrant childhoods. And it's really important to let people know that if a child does experience an ACE or some type of traumatic event, it's not destiny. There are things that can change. And crucially, even when a child is exposed to intimate partner violence, with safety and care, their trajectories can change. And we want to ensure that these early supports in place, setting the foundation for them to still experience healthy childhoods full of opportunity and growth. Now, let's turn to gender-based violence, or GPV. GPV is violence directed at someone because of their gender, gender identity, or gender expression. It takes many forms: physical, sexual, emotional, psychological, or even financial. And in Canada, 30% of women report experiencing sexual assault since the age of 15. And globally, 1 in 3 women have faced physical or sexual violence. And femicide, the killing of women and girls because of their gender, occurs in Canada every 1 to 2 days. And more specifically, intimate partner violence, IPV, also known as spousal or domestic violence, is a prevalent form of gender based violence, and it has multiple forms of harm caused by a current or former intimate partner or spouse. But gender based violence doesn't affect everyone equally. Having an intersectional lens shows us how overlapping identities like one's race, class, disability, or sexual orientation can increase vulnerability. For example, Indigenous women are 12 times more likely to go missing or murdered in Canada. Women with disabilities face violence at triple the rate of others, and too, as LGBTQIA plus individuals often face unique forms of abuse, such as threats or being outed. And these disparities are not random, they are unjust, unfair, and rooted in broader structural discrimination. Dr. Nicole Letourneau shared with me the story of why she committed her career to addressing these issues.
But it's an origin story that has been about hope and trying to right wrongs and make the world better for people. So the story actually began at the advent of a terrible tragedy at École Polytechnique de Montréal in 1989, where a gunman went in to an engineering classroom and separated the male students from the female students, and proceeded to end the lives of many young women who, just because they were women. I remember at the time being a young nursing student and shocked and just devastated by that. And people all across the country were. The government of Canada at the time was, tasked with doing something about gender-based violence. And as a result of that, there were these sister centers for gender-based violence research and education created all across the country. And that alliance of centers focused on gender-based violence emerged into or grew into the Alliance Against Violence and Adversity. So while those alliance centers still exist across the country and they're doing their work, all of the members of those those original centers that were set up in response to that terrible tragedy, they're all still members of the Alliance Against Violence and Adversity. And what is pretty sad, actually, in spite of all the policy effort and funding and education that's been done, and there has been huge strides, so I don't want to diminish the fact that, now gender-based violence is much more understood and unaccepted, and there's far more attention put to it. It still remains a problem in Canada. And in fact, over the last decade or so, we've seen increases in domestic homicide in our country. The rates have gone up about 250% over the last decade. Now in Canada, every 1 to 2 days, a girl or woman loses their life in a gender-based violence incident, terrible event. So there's that reality now as well. Alongside that, children's mental health and physical health, which is a big focus of AVA, has been declining over the last decade as well. So the Alliance Against Violence and Adversity is really working to reverse those terrible trends and building on 30 years of work around policy and research and education to improve the lives of girls, women, and gender diverse people affected by violence and adversity. So really, our approach is rooted in a commitment to evidence in developing best practices to support community organizations who work with girls, women, and gender diverse people affected by violence and adversity. I can't emphasize enough the importance of this work, and it's sad beginnings, and we hope that we can transform services so that we can reduce these terrible things in our country.
For youth and adults, the effects ripple outwards. Survivors of violence are more likely to experience mental health challenges like depression, anxiety, PTSD, and substance use. Chronic health conditions, including high blood pressure, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and autoimmune disorders. Reproductive and sexual health problems, including higher risks of unintended pregnancies, STIs, and complications during pregnancy. And they have barriers to accessing care because healthcare systems are often not trauma informed or culturally informed, leaving survivors feeling unsafe or unheard. And these impacts don't stop with individuals. Families, workplaces, and communities all carry the weight of these experiences through lost productivity, intergenerational trauma, and higher healthcare and social service costs. So, what do we do about it? Prevention and support has to work on many levels, from teaching healthy relationships to teens, to screening for family violence in hospitals, to helping survivors rebuild financial independence after abuse, to providing parental and childhood care, supportive relationships, early childhood programs, community supports, and equitable policies all contribute to children's beginnings and allowing them to have more vibrant childhoods while helping youth becoming empowered and resilient adults. a big part of this shift is about making care that is trauma informed, equitable, and culturally sensitive. Now, those are very academic terms, so let's break this down. Firstly, trauma informed care is really about changing the way we ask questions. So instead of asking someone, "What's wrong with you?" it asks, "What happened to you?" And that simple shift changes everything. It means we respond with dignity, compassion, and respect. Trauma informed care recognizes that people's past experiences, even from childhood, shape how they see the world and how they heal. Now, equity means making sure everyone gets the support they actually need, not treating everyone the same regardless, but recognizing that people start from different places. For example, someone who has faced racism or poverty may need different supports to access the same opportunities for health and safety as someone who hasn't. And cultural sensitivity means honoring and respecting people's backgrounds, histories, and traditions in the way that support is given. It means understanding the impact potentially of intergenerational trauma on Indigenous communities, for example, or providing care that feels safe and respectful for newcomers and refugees. It's about meeting people where they are and in ways that make sense for them. And trauma informed care also looks at how trauma connects with other struggles like poverty, social isolation, mental illness, and how those ripple out into whole communities. And here's something important: it's not about just supporting survivors, it's also about supporting people providing care who can experience burnout or secondary trauma themselves. And when you put all this together, a trauma informed, equitable, and culturally sensitive care, you get an approach that makes healing safer, fairer, and more effective for everyone. This kind of care helps create spaces where children and youth and adults can thrive, families feel supported, and communities are strengthened, all part of fostering very vibrant childhoods and providing support for everyone involved. Still, gaps remain in healthcare and social services, and Dr. Letourneau spoke about these challenges and how AVA addresses them.
One of the major challenges is the limited training available for providers in addressing adverse childhood experience, especially, linked to gendered violence. And also agencies in the community typically lack or struggle to find access or the resources to access tools to implement evidence-based practices. AVA addresses these gaps by providing an implementation science training program, which is part of AVA Online and actually embedded in a lot of the other programs we offer, the mentorship program and the internship program. Taken together, the implementation science training in the various forms should equip our participants, and particularly those in the community, to create, implement, and evaluate interventions that can be tailored to local needs, and even identify strategies to improve the uptake and outcomes of the interventions they might already, program services, solutions, that they've already identified and are implementing in their community organizations. The other thing that AVA really is focused on addressing, through the things I just talked about, but specifically giving students and trainees, so graduate students, postdoctoral trainees, opportunities to take the knowledge they learn about implementation science and use it in partnership with community. Gives them, as I have said before, a different window on the work that they might do, different window on the experience that a typical graduate or postdoctoral trainee would get in their research education. And in so doing, we hope that knowledge, those experiences, and working with community will help them move toward wanting to have a career that involves community and is going to improve the lives of girls and women and gender diverse people who are at risk or affected by violence and adversity in the community. As opposed to just doing work in the ivory tower of the university, we were really trying to help give students an opportunity to think about things a little bit differently. And part of that is giving them great experiences in and with community, and at the same time giving our community partners great experiences with us and with trainees, so they're more likely to want to do work with academics later too. So there's a lot of synergies that we're trying to foster that I think in the end will make for better social services and healthcare for girls and women and gender diverse people who are at risk of violence and adversity.
We just heard Dr. Letourneau talk more about AVA. So, what is it exactly? AVA's work comes together in three interconnected ways. First, through a health research training platform for trainees, professionals, and anyone interested to learn more about ACEs and gender-based violence through its online training platform. Secondly, through a Women and Girls Health Hub, including 2 Indigenous health hubs. And recently, thirdly, a new research initiative where AVA is partnering with social services and nonprofits to conduct its own research. And together, these strands are training the next generation of researchers, practitioners, and community partners to take on the urgent challenge of gender based violence. And at its core, AVA is about working together to make things better and building their knowledge, skills, and partnerships. We need to change the story for women, girls, and gender diverse people in Canada and beyond. We can't undo violence that has already happened, but we can prevent future harm and we can instill and build resilience. Survivors are not broken, they are leaders and advocates driving change. And with AVA, knowledge is being shared nationally to strengthen supports, foster collaborations, and train the next generation of researchers and practitioners. I was able to ask Dr. Letourneau about AVA's vision and future.
Yeah, such a great question because we've put so much effort into developing these programs and really just starting to see the impacts. And a big part of what we're doing right now is collecting data to evaluate the effectiveness of the various things we're doing. Are we achieving what we said we would is really the question. And the reason we ask that question is because we want to be sustainable. And if something is effective, it's more likely to, find the resources it needs. So I'm thinking a lot about that. And I'm hoping that AVA has become a bigger thing than the original health research training platform. AVA is the health hubs. AVA is now funded to do research. We just got some funding from CICHR again. They've just given us some funding to help community organizations, 6 in particular across Canada, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Ontario. These are organizations in those provinces who are delivering evidence-based solutions already to address girls' and women's and gender diverse people's health. And what we're supporting those organizations to do is develop strategies to improve the uptake and outcomes of those programs that they're already delivering. We want to maximize positive impacts, right? Prevent violence, prevent negative impacts of violence and adversity. So AVA is bigger. And I think our long-term sustainability goals are to turn ourselves into something that can be self-sustaining. And, the sources of funds that we attain for that will probably be multiple. I'm already reaching out to CIHR officials and friends and colleagues in the other training platforms to see how we might find opportunities to apply for future funding to continue our work. Almost the first year we were funded, we were like, okay, can we be renewed after 6 years? So we started to have those conversations almost as soon as we were funded, because it would just be a terrible shame to see it all be dismantled after, the funding envelope ends when we're doing so much good work. So trying to create connections, trying to build momentum, finding community partners who are benefiting, all of that kind of, I think, goodwill might go a long way to seeing that we have funding opportunities in the future. Podcasts like this and getting the word out about AVA might encourage other people to think about funding us in different ways. I'm thinking philanthropy, and maybe even some of these great training opportunities that we've been building, like the AVA Online, could be something that we commercialize down the road. So we're thinking of lots of ways to continue connecting and working really closely with everyone on AVA, but to the degree we can work closely with everyone on AVA, but really, really closely with the early career researchers who are connected with AVA, because they will be the champions for the next iteration. And we're already starting to have those conversations, because if it's working as well as it seems to, and the data will show us that, it just would be a terrible shame to let it all end.
ACEs, GBV, IPV. These aren't just acronyms. They're real-life experiences shaping health across generations. From a child's developing brain to an adult's chronic illness, the impacts are profound. And we've also got a chance to define what culturally sensitive and trauma-informed care looks like. And it was just a quick deep dive. If you're very much interested in learning more about adverse childhood experiences and gender-based violence, there's a lot of training videos on the AVA Online website. And here at AVA, we're really focused about creating the capacity to transform community health and social services to promote the health and wellness of children, women, families, and diverse people affected by violence adversity over the entire life cycle. And as we wrapped up, I asked Nicole what the future holds for AVA and how listeners can get involved.
We're a very big tent, and we welcome anyone to join. There's several ways to do that. You can if you're listening today, you can, after this podcast, you can go visit our website at avatraining.ca. You can view our publications. You can take part and sign up for our knowledge mobilization efforts, so webinars. You can take part in AVA Online. It's all free. We're always looking for people who are passionate about addressing violence and adversity in our communities across Canada. And we'd love to have you join our team and hear your ideas and benefit from this large group of Canadians who care. So our tagline is better together. So we really believe that and think that we can do so much more when we're working together to make things better. I urge you all to go check out our website and get involved.
With the right supports, we can break the cycles of harm and create healthier and safer communities. I would first like to thank Dr. Nicole Letourneau for talking to me more about AVA and about the work she does. If you want to learn more, you can check out our webpage at avatraining.ca. And right now, we have about 20 plus episodes of the HerHealth podcast where I have conversations with different experts in the field, and the links for that will be in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. And here at AVA, we are working together to make things better.
Thanks for joining us on the HerHealth podcast, transforming health for women and girls at risk. Remember, your health matters, and together we can make a difference. Until next time, remember to prioritize your health and well-being. For more resources and support on issues affecting girls, women, and gender-diverse people, visit our website at avatraining.ca. This is Dr. Nicole Letourneau. Thank you for listening.